Welcome to Crushing 1L, a podcast about tort dreams and contract nightmares. I'm Aaminah, I'm a 1L at UCLA Law, and I am joined by Abhi, a 1L at Penn Law. Abhi, welcome.
Welcome to you back.
Welcome, thank you. Abhi, I have a question for you.
Yeah,
I'm
what's your
sorry,
question?
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Here's the gag. I've been listening to a lot of normal gossip, like a lot of normal gossip, and their podcast is just structured very differently from ours. And so, like, in my mind, I'm running normal gossip on this episode, but that's not how we do things here. Sorry. That's why I welcomed Abby to the show that we both are on all the time. It is our show, and I welcomed him. I hope you enjoyed. But anyways, Abby, I have a question for you.
I have an
Did you
answer.
succeed at not studying over Thanksgiving break? What was your Thanksgiving break like? How is it going for you?
Ooh, well, yes. Happy post Thanksgiving. Good to see you after the holiday. I did succeed at not studying on Thanksgiving, and I also succeeded at not studying on the day before Thanksgiving. I did not succeed at not studying the day after Thanksgiving. I did a wee little practice test on Friday, but then I didn't
Yeah.
do anything except play board games on Saturday. So
Okay, you balanced it out.
it's all
Yeah,
about life is all about
I
balance.
all about balance. I too, I actually succeeded a lot at not studying. In so much like Wednesday, I didn't have classes, so I actually went and saw a movie. Like
What'd you
I was
say?
reading. I saw this movie called Eternity. I won't get into the plot because it requires a lot of explanation, but I saw Eternity. It was pretty good. It was decent. I enjoyed it. I finished a book I've been reading for like months. Their Eyes Were Watching God. Incredible piece of literature. The sun was so beautiful in my apartment. I was like, wow, maybe life is all right.
You had like
Yeah.
a good ass day.
I
Like
had
you
an
you
incredible day
you went and
actually.
saw. So wait, so Eternity is Miles Teller and
Elizabeth Olsen and
Elizabeth
Callum
Olsen,
Turner.
Callum Turner,
Callum
and
Turner.
then of
Yeah.
course Their Eyes Were Watching God. Shout out, R.I.P. Zora Neale.
Yeah,
That's for you.
incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible
Zora Neale
literature.
Hurston, folks, go read that.
Absolute recommend. And yeah, I had a really good day Wednesday. Thursday, I spent a lot of time cooking, which is so funny. I put a lot of work into my reputation of I can't cook, even though I can. Like, I really enforce that I can't cook because I do not like to cook and I did not want to be responsible for cooking. And like, somehow I ended up like me and my younger sister sous chefing, or sorry, I was sous chefing to my younger sister over Thanksgiving. Spent a lot of
Wow.
hours in the kitchen. But the food was great. And then Friday, also didn't really study very much. Had my sister come over, do my hair, new hair, um,
New hair, very
new
good, very
hair.
good.
Yeah, and then Saturday I started studying for torts, and that is where my torts dreams and contract nightmares came about.
Yeah, dude, and I relate so much. Yeah, a lot of cooking. Shout out to Matt Dumont for the pro tip. So I made a turkey this year, first
Oh
time
wow.
ever.
Oh wow.
Well, we like it was not a solo job. It was like the whole family helped.
Sure. Yeah.
And we got so many tips from people, including Matt, lsatdemon Matt. He told me to put like a whole orange in there, a quartered
Hmm.
orange in.
Hmm.
We also got other tips from like cookbooks and other notes and stuff. So we put like apples in there and onions and garlic. Man, that turkey came out so good. I have so much turkey left over in my fridge. Very, very
Turkey
excited
pot
to eat
pie.
that.
Turkey pot pie.
With the leftovers?
Incredible. Absolutely. You have to make turkey pot pie.
Oh, I
It's
didn't even
so
think of
good.
that.
It's
Okay.
so good. Better than chicken
Noted.
pot pie. Yeah.
Noted.
But yeah, awesome. Cool.
Yeah, very cool, very cool.
Yeah. And now
Speaking
we're
of
back to the
torts,
grind.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so talk to me about what you so yeah, so it sounds like we're on similar timelines here. We're in like the last week or two of school. It's reading week mostly. I have a couple of classes left. We already talked about this last week.
Yeah.
Um, I did a practice test and I found it really helpful. What have you been doing
Hmm.
for torts?
Yeah, so I mean, mostly I've been outlining for torts. I mean, just building on the outlines that I had from the midterm. But I had an interesting experience yesterday, and Abby,
Segway.
segue. I was talking to Abby about this. As is well documented, I am not a huge fan of AI, and part of that is that I really genuinely forget that it exists a lot of the time. It just in terms of my own personal usage of it. But yesterday I was doing my outline for torts. I came across like the causation section of our material, and I just had a moment and I was like, I don't think I really am getting the difference between actual and proximate cause. Um, so I had the bright idea, like, okay, like let me see, like, let's see what all this hype is about with ChatGPT. Like, chat. what's the difference between proximate and actual cause? And so we got into a bit of a conversation. It was telling me about the difference between like those two types of causation and like some of the different rules that are generated, like some of the landmark cases that generated different rules and approaches to understanding actual and proximate cause. And I was like, all right, like, can you give me a hypo to see like if I understand? Gave me a hypo, answered it, and it's like, that's not quite right. I was like, okay, give me another one. They're like, that's also not quite right. And I'm like, okay, like, what am I missing? And like all of this to say, like, at the end of my conversation, I f- I felt like I did understand better the difference between those two things. However, I also like I felt like it was evident very quickly kind of like the boundaries of chat's ability to like walk me through this material. Like the hypos, a lot of it, like the couple of hypos I got, it was already becoming very like pattern based in the sense of like even without knowing whether or not there was proximate cause in the hypo it gave me, I could assume that it wasn't because all of the hypos that it gave me did not have proximate cause. And they kind of revolved around the same factors. And then like the other thing, and I'm almost done with this, but like the other thing like I noticed is like I learned what chat taught me, but like I don't know if that's actually like I don't know how closely that actually correlates to what is actually in my textbook and actually in my notes. So like I'll double check it in my notes and then also double check with my professor. But like yeah, that was kind of my experience with using Chat GPT. Again, still not a huge fan of using AI. So like I won't like rely on it as like a primary study tool, but like I might check it out here and there as I'm going along. But yeah, that's how part my store setting has been going so far.
No, that's great. That's great to hear. And I think just on the podcast record, I think Amina is the AI lover, and I'm the AI skeptic, as our roles have always been.
And I've always said that.
And
Yeah.
we've always said that.
And I've always
Um,
said that.
I know. I think the reason that I'm skeptical is just to kind of echo some of the concerns you shared just now. Every time I've asked chat stuff, it gets 80% of the way, and
Yeah.
that's really good. That's really good. It's not 100%, and unfortunately the last 20 is really important. Right, so like it just
Yeah.
mixes up facts, right? Like if you're talking to it about cases, it mixes up facts, it makes up
Yeah.
facts. um you ask it about concepts, and it kind of just dumbs down the concepts and simplifies them so much so that you're like, wait, you're just kind of telling me what I told you I know. And so there's this weird like echo
Yeah.
chamber effect where I think you nailed it. I think you learned some combination of what like chat knows, which is unclear what that is, and so,
Hmm.
some combination of that and what you already knew about torts, and that kind
Hmm.
of just got echoed and mishmashed. And so you probably came away with a better understanding of torts, but mostly because, in my opinion, you've kind of just taught yourself and went through the process of doing the Socratic method with yourself, because that chat is a mirror, right?
Right.
It just kind of talks back to you what you kind of tell it. Um, it it can be helpful. It can be helpful in a pinch. It can summarize cases pretty well. It can give you like it can pull out the big ideas. And so if you
Hmm.
read a case and you're like, I am so lost, I don't even know what the main idea is of this, it can pull out the main idea and go, hey, this is what the court held and this is why. And like it's
Yeah.
like right 90% of the time. Um I
Yeah.
I think for like something as kind of hard to explain as cause, actual cause and fact versus proximate cause, which, by the way, and this is something you hinted at, this is something that courts struggle to explain, right? The
Hmm.
distinction between actual cause and proximate cause is like a point of scholarly debate in legal society, in the legal
Right.
professional field, right? So, like, ChatGPT is not going to be able to explain it very well, except for in the language of kind of the case, again, the cases that we have learned in our curriculum. So,
Yeah.
I'm skeptical, but
Yeah. I think like a lawyer that I was talking with at one of our lunch panels, like she kind of put it in a way that I was like, yeah, she's like AI is like your smartest friend that doesn't, or not the smartest friend, but like the most confident person in your class that like is very much like, yep, here's the answer, but like not always right, and
and then you
like
look
just
at your book
wants
and you're like, no,
yeah,
it's not.
like wait a minute. Yeah, and like so confident because it's like I know the answer, like you want an answer, I have one for you. But it's
Yeah.
like it's not actually the right answer. So like when you get answers from AI, you definitely need to double check it. And yeah, like it was useful, but like I definitely saw the limits of it. Like even in so much like one of the hypos it gave me, like it was like, oh, like, this let's say like sand blew onto the street and like this person slipped on the sand and like another like a couple minutes later somebody saw that they had slipped and came over to help them and then they slipped on the sand, like, are they the is the person who left the sand on the street like the proximate cause of the second person's injuries? And like even in that, like, I'm getting a little into the doctrine here, but like in that there's like something called rescue doctrine, right? So it's like you can have liability for somebody, like somebody coming over to help somebody who's in trouble is like foreseeable. And like if you cause a dangerous situation that puts that rescuer in danger, like you're also liable for what happens to the rescuer. I knew that because it was in my notes and I learned that in torts, but like chat threw that at me in a hypo without any, we never talked about
Context.
that. Yeah. And like if I wasn't able to like pick up on that, like it may not have said like, oh yeah, like see, because of rescue doctrine, like this person can also sue for the defendant for liability, blah blah blah. Like, so it's like there are limitations. It's not gonna we as we maintain, like it's not gonna replace us yet. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's what's hard is I think the way that law schools have been teaching torts for a really long time is that
Mhm.
torts, unintentional torts, are generally just negligence, right? And so
Mhm.
you ask, okay, what's like negligence? And then you talk about duty, a duty that we owe to each other, whether that's just a general duty of care, right, walking down the street, or whether there's some sort of higher duty of care, like a doctor and patient, like an
Mhm.
affirmative duty. But we talk about duty, and then we talk about breach of that duty, right? Did you act in a way that let somebody down, right? Were you
Right.
negligent? This is the key of like, were you negligent, right?
Right.
And then with breach, it's like, okay, you owed somebody a duty, or generally we owe people a duty to not be crazy assholes. And then if you breach that duty, if you were negligent, acted negligently, did you actually cause harm? Right? Did
Right.
what you did, your negligence, did it cause harm? And those couple sentences, there's entire textbooks, there's entire case books written about what was your duty, did you breach that duty, and did your breach actually cause the harm? Entire field of tort law is that sentence.
Yep.
So, and we learn it in these specific contexts, and they're kind of siloed, but they all bleed within each other.
Mhm.
And so for AI to try to, like, for instance, like teaching rescue doctrine when your question was about proximate versus actual cause, like that actually doesn't make any sense, right?
I mean,
So,
well, yeah, and it didn't, but it didn't teach me rescue doctrine, right? Like
right? No, it
that's the
didn't. It just
point.
brought it up. Yeah.
Yeah, and like that is in causation, like in so much that like you
Yes.
can also be liable for causing harm to that third party, but like it's just like
It's kind of an
yeah.
out of left field. It's an out of left. It's like an exception, right? So
Yeah.
generally, you don't owe you. There's no causation to like third parties unless the causation was foreseeable enough that if you imperil somebody, if you put somebody in enough danger, and you know somebody's going to have to risk their life to get them, guess what? You're on the hook, right? And it makes intuitive sense to us, but that's a weird thing to insert when somebody's like, "I'm having trouble with actual cause versus proximate cause." That's like if a tutor was like, "Oh, but like, have you heard about this weird third rule, this
Yeah.
like other
Yeah.
exception?" Like, come on, give me a break, right? So yeah, I think there's limits for sure. I do love though the confidence, the affirmations, like the easygoingness, and like the positivity. Like,
Yeah.
I think the one cool thing about AI, like, it will never get bored.
Yeah.
It has infinite patience. You can ask it infinite questions, and it
Mhm.
will just keep trying to answer them confidently,
Yeah.
which is cool.
Confidently. And it will also glaze you while it does it, like, "Oh, that's such a good question. Now you're really thinking like a law student. Oh, that's so insightful. You're doing great. You're almost there." But, yeah.
I actually had to program mine to stop doing that. I can't stand that. I can't stand like empty platitudes. So I
Yeah.
have it programmed so it's very like it's very concise to the point. It doesn't do that thing where it asks, like, every time you prompt it, it returns the answer and then it has like a, do you want me to do something else? I got it to
Mm,
stop asking me that. I hate that. I hate that. Like, if I have
mm,
something for you, I will ask you. But
yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, and like just even on that, sorry, this is like a weird tangent, but like on that, it's like you're now like me, you're creating an obligation for me to ask you another thing. Like, please, just let
well,
me
that's
be.
that's 100. That's it's like that's 100% it. They just want to keep engaging the
Yeah.
user, right? So, anyway, AI is
Yes.
cool.
Anyway.
It's a learning tool. It's got limits. but I think it's going to rapidly expand and advance in really meaningful ways. And even right now, as it stands, great learning tool. Like you walked away from your conversation with chat with more knowledge about actual versus proximate cause. And that's
Yeah.
perfect, right? Um,
Yeah.
and it didn't cost anybody any time, and it didn't cost you any money except for the $20 a month that
It
you.
cost me a lot of time, actually. Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, then it begs the question of like, oh, but like, would we have saved time? Would you have saved time if you just like texted me or something? Right. It's like, hey, like,
Yeah.
can I try to explain cause to you? And I would have been like, sure. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
No, yeah, no. I say a lot of time, but just like only in so much that it's like I could be like continuing my outline right now. But you know that tension that you feel as a law student, where it's like I could be doing the thing I'm supposed to be doing, and like I'm taking a detour, which is useful to me because I clearly don't understand, and like steamrolling over that is not going to take me any further. But like,
Mhm.
yeah, and also yeah, it's like it's interesting because it's like even like what you just said, and I know you've been working in study groups. I'm curious if you like did any of that like over the break. I mean, I guess not study groups, but like, do you like bounce your like once you've done your studying and stuff, do you bounce it off of other law students?
Yes, I find that
Yeah.
super helpful. So what my legal writing and research class is called LPS. So my LPS cohort, we haven't had LPS for a few weeks because they let
Mhm.
us kind of focus on our doctrinals and studying.
Yeah.
But my cohort committed to using the time that we would have been in LPS to continue to meet as a
Mm.
cohort of 8 people, 8 to 10 people, and we just get in a study room and one or two people just try their best to explain, the hardest concept on everybody's mind for one doctrine, and then we kind of just ask them questions. So it's really cool. It's
That's
really cool.
awesome. I love
It
that
trying
idea.
to explain stuff to your friends, goated. Like a hundred
Yeah.
percent the best way to see if you understand something.
Yeah, I mean, we know that. We know that as
And we know that. We know that
teachers.
as
As
teachers. We
teachers,
know
we
that as
know
LSAT
that.
teachers. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. I
It's
love that.
it's so funny that we know stuff cuz like we also all of us know this. Like you even if you don't work at an LSAT prep company like we do, you were like in high school and college, right? You guys everybody who's listening has studied for something. And everybody listening knows, man, you don't know something until you can explain it. And
Yeah.
you don't know something until you can't explain it.
Can't explain it. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and one of the best ways you can help your friends understand stuff better is to ask them, "Hey, explain it to me. Like, teach it to me, and I'm going to ask you questions, and we're both going to get better." Um, I will say, I think that's chat's best. That's what chat is, right?
Yeah.
I've tried to use chat as let me explain it to you and let me know what
Mhm.
I missed. It's
Yeah.
better at that because the parameters are more narrow. So, like for
Yeah.
instance, what do I mean by that? If I write a practice exam answer and then I have a model answer from the professor uploading it, I give chat the model answer and I give it my answer and I give it the test. And I tell it, or I ask it, hey, what did I like? Grade me. Like you have the model answer, you have the test, you have my response. How did I do? What did I miss? What did I not cover as well as the model answer? What did I maybe cover better than the model answer? If you constrain its parameters, it gives really great feedback.
Mm.
So something to think about. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, I know like one of the professors on one of the workshops I went to about like exam setting was like, you should like, you can literally build a model and like, basically use it as a student, right? So it's like, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
explain this to you, like, like, and like, let's work through it that way and ask me questions and so on and
Yeah.
so forth. So, I mean, yeah, there's definitely ways to engage AI.
Yeah.
If you do more AI studying, like I'd be curious to hear about how that goes for you. We can talk about that as we go through finals, but yeah,
Yeah. And caveat, like even when you constrain the parameters, it still misses stuff. So like
yeah,
I give it my answer, I give it the model answer, I give it the test, and it's like, oh, like you didn't talk about this, and the model answer did. And I like look at my thing, and I look at the model answer, I'm like, no, chat, I talked about this, and the model answer didn't. Like it still kind of confuses stuff like that, which I
yeah,
don't know exactly what is going on there, but it's just anyway, it's interesting. It's interesting.
yeah. Well, yeah, but that's how final studying is starting off. We're now in I'm in reading period. You have classes this
I
week.
have like 2 or 3 days of classes left, but
Yeah.
my reading period starts this week as soon as classes end. So
Okay.
exciting stuff.
Yeah. Exciting stuff. Yeah, and that's that on what's going on in law school. What's
Yeah.
going on in the real world? Let's talk about the listeners.
Yeah, well, I have bad news, Amina. I think that we're gonna have to dive right back into the real world of law school because Joshua has a follow up. Joshua Solizano let us know. First of all, thanks for your first comment, Joshua. It was hilarious. And your second comment, I'll read it for Amina. Amina, you're still awesome.
Thanks,
Love that.
Josh.
Love that.
Appreciate it.
Because I look to remind people. Last time Joshua said that I had aura, which is may or may not be
And it
true.
genuinely was just like revolting to me to hear. No, I'm
Right,
kidding.
right, right,
It's
right.
definitely true. Avi's so cool. Everybody loves Avi.
And yeah, and so now Josh was also giving Aaminah her flowers. Hey, Aaminah, you're still awesome,
I
awesome.
love flowers. Thank you,
Um,
Josh.
but substantive question for you, Aaminah. So let's, and this is where I
Yes.
think we might have to jump back into the real world of law school. Can y'all?
Damn.
His question is, can y'all talk about your daily schedules and how you manage time, including wake up time? And there's more details. I don't, you know, I can read the whole thing, I suppose, but it's like, how do you fit gym and TV? So that's for me. I'm curious how Abhi fits gym and TV time while juggling responsibilities. Short answer, Josh. I don't. I just go to the gym and watch TV and don't study as much as I probably should. That's a bad answer. Um, and how Aaminah, and all her greatness, juggles tasks and fun. Um, also, hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Thanks, Joshua. I hope every listener had a great Thanksgiving. Um, so yeah, Aaminah, how do you balance, like, you've been working really hard? How do you balance that with having fun?
Um, yeah. I don't think I've balanced it very well. Like, so it's funny because, right, if you roll back to like episode one, back when, like, it was
The sun was
still sun,
shining.
yeah, it was still sun at 7 o'clock, and like we were happy and we didn't know anything. I was like, oh yeah, like I'm practicing my time management and scheduling now. Like, I'm doing all these things so that I can like maintain it. It's really important not to like just drop everything in law school. And then I got into law school and I dropped everything and I was like just studying all the time. Um and like I mean for other reasons that like I won't get into, but I just really spent a lot of time this semester I feel like studying and like not reaping as much benefit from that as I was putting in as the effort I was putting in. Like
Mhm.
I hope you understand what I'm saying. Like I think those two
Yeah,
things weren't equivalent. Um and I like don't really advise that. Like in these last couple weeks, I've kind of like been able to shift a bit more and like time block a little bit better. But I I don't think I was having a lot of fun during the semester. I will say like the couple of things that I like did do, like I talked a while ago about how I decided to go volunteer and like there are some things that like were just non-negotiables for me. So like as many times as I could go and volunteer, like that was my Saturday morning, like I'm getting up at 6 and I'm going to volunteer and like that's that.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think it's really in terms of like I guess I'll make another like cheery prediction for next semester and see how it plays out. But like having gone through this semester, I think I understand better now at the end of it, like, okay, like here's how you can block time and just like have these non-negotiables so that you're not like drowning all the time because it's really not productive to just be studying endlessly without any balance. Um so yeah, long answer to your question. Short answer was I wasn't really having fun and that was not a good idea. And I highly recommend that you build fun into your schedule. Have a schedule, build fun into it. That remains the truth. Avi, how about you?
Yeah, I so if like Amina might be on maybe one end of the spectrum, and I think I might be the other end of the spectrum, and I think we're both cautionary tales. I think I had too much fun this semester. Um, I'm not very productive when I get home, so
Mm-hmm.
if it's not just like knocking out a couple of readings for the next day, I can't really do substantive work when I'm at home. I like to hang out with my cat. If if my partner's around, I like to hang out with her. We make dinner, we watch movies, we go out to dinner or we make dinner at home. We go to the gym. We go for walks. I read for fun. Reading is like my number one thing that I do. Besides like watching movies and watching TV, I love media. I'm a pop culture guy. I love pop culture. I love humanity. Humanity is so cool. We come up with so many cool things. Um, so my long answer to your short question is I didn't do a good job of balancing stuff because I think I just kept my schedule mostly the same. I've been treating law school kind of like a 9 to 5. Now I will say a couple of things had to give. So I'll be honest, Joshua, and this is me coming clean. My morning runs were one of the first things that went. I'm still get up. I still get up at 6 a.m. But I find myself like refreshing readings in the morning while I drink coffee and like catching up on maybe I left some reading to do for the morning before class. Or I'm just refreshing notes, or I use that morning time to kind of get my brain in law school mode. I could probably still keep running, and maybe like if I was more forward thinking, I could maybe have like my notes in a podcast. And there's like AI apps. I don't know if you've heard of them. They like turn your
Yeah.
outlines into audiobooks. I don't
Yes.
see, but that to me, like, I think the point of the run is to get away from all that shit. So like I don't think
Yeah.
that having it in your ears. So anyway, if I'm gonna refresh my notes, I'm just gonna sit on my couch and do it. I'm not gonna like try to shoehorn or run into it. So my runs have gone. I still try to go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. I'm down from like my 4 or 5. I'll be honest, right? Because some days you just come home from law school and you're just depleted. And and like I think we both know this. Like working like athletic endeavors are mostly like nervous system endeavors. Like your central nervous system is the one doing the most work. Your muscles are actually just kind of there. So
Hmm.
if your nervous system is tired because you've had a long ass day and you've been using a lot of your nervous system to like think of stuff, the gym session is not going to be great. So if I have a long ass day and I feel like shit, I just call it and I just have dinner, watch TV, and go to bed. But I still try to go 2 or 3 times a week. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think that there's somewhere in between maybe is the balance. Like I think I should have done more work at home. On the other hand, bringing that home with you, Amina, bringing that work home with you,
I mean, so like
tough, right?
that's the thing. Like, I think one thing I learned too is like, yeah, sometimes it's good for me to be in the library, but sometimes it's really good for me to be at home and work at home.
Oh yeah, oh
Like
yeah.
sometimes I do way better working in my room than I do like in the library because like one thing that like I noticed a lot in the semester is like sometimes I just get anxious about like catching the bus and I'm just like I need to like when should I go? Should I go now? Should I go for half an hour from now? Should I go for the next bus? Should I go for the bus after that? Like and so like that like it's just a complete wash because I'm just constantly like cycling through like
Very
when am I
real.
gonna get home? Like how do I get home? And in those instances I'm like okay like it's night time for me to go home and just like refocus and lock in there. But yeah, definitely, I think there's a balance of like you
Hmm.
were saying, like there maybe needed to be more work at home, maybe less work at all the time for me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I think like were you gonna say something?
No, I was just agreeing.
Okay, okay. I think also on that, I think something I want to try next semester, like I don't really like I'm always up at 6, but I never work really in the morning. And I think I want to front load my days more. So like instead of like a 9 to 5, maybe like a 6 to 3, right? So like
That's what I've been running.
yeah,
Yeah.
like try and do more of my like prep and whatever I'm gonna do for law school in the morning, kind of like
Hmm.
run it throughout the day and then like end the day earlier. Because I'm very good in the morning, like I'm up anyway, like I can work in the morning as long as I get up and decide to do that. I just hadn't been doing that, and I think that might be something I like something I might try to do more of next
I
semester.
I I 100% agree, dude. I think it's so important. Like because it's really you only really have 2 or 3 hours of work outside of your law school day. Like let's be
Yeah,
so real, right? Let's be
yeah.
so real. Everybody's brains are so melted after that point. You really only have 2 or 3 hours of work. Do you want your work? And by work, for people listening who aren't in school, I know a lot of our listeners actually are in school, so this is awesome because you guys can maybe corroborate. Leave us comments if you either agree or disagree. But I think for people that aren't in school, what we're talking about is when we say work, we mean like whether that's transcribing notes from class so that you have them digitally or like more concisely or clearly, or reviewing notes, or refreshing or reviewing the readings, or the ancillary work that's not you sitting in your seat for an hour and a half in class, 3 or 4 classes
Yeah.
every day, right? So everything that's not that is work, and you really can only do 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4 hours of that kind of work before you start to, be really sad.
Mhm. Mhm.
So would you rather, and this is something I think we figured out over time, right? Would you rather have those 2 or 3 hours of work be after your long ass day or maybe before your long ass day?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think before it might be better for me, for like certain people, for like morning
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. So figure out which kind of person you are and like yeah. And also no is just such a powerful word. No, I can't do it right now. No, I can't like go to this thing. No,
Yeah.
I can't go to that thing. Like no, I'm going to
Right.
prioritize this. Like I mean, they talk a lot. You'll hear a lot from law students like Google Calendar is your best friend. Okay, if that's how you like
Maybe.
block your time, if using that calendar is the way that you can see and understand like the time that you have and the time you're going to spend, like
Hmm.
great. But like find some way to like visualize time. Like that was something I learned this semester. Like, oh, I need to be able to visually see where the hours are in the day. Like I literally just like write it. Like I'll show you like Yeah, I literally just like write in a notebook sometimes like this, like, oh, like this is like my hours in the day, and like these are the things I'm gonna do
Hmm.
in those hours. And like being able to look at it like that, I'm like, oh, there's the time. That's how I'm gonna
Yeah,
do this today. Yeah.
that's such a good point. And yeah, also there's also so many different flavors of what your day might look like while you're at school. So like there's library people, like people that
Hmm.
study really well at the library. I am not a library person. So for those of you who are listening, you're like, okay, wait, obviously you're not a study at home person. You're not a library person. Um, I am a show up and really I put everything into class. I really love
Yeah.
class. So I am intensely focused during class. I'm writing down a lot of physical notes. I'm trying to listen to almost every word that everybody's saying and trying to like really process everything, really focus on what the professor's saying. So I'm giving 110% for the hours that we are sitting in our seats in class. So
Mm,
that is my compromise to myself, right? So there's no free lunch, right? You can't just not do any work.
yeah.
But some people are preppers, like they really want to go into class really prepared. I think I'm kind of one of those people. I like to read the cases before class. You'd be surprised. Some people just don't do that. Some people read the cases after class, and that's like that's that's to each their own. Whatever works for people. I like to read the cases before class. I like to know the cases cold before class so that I can really focus on what everybody's saying. Um, and then on the other hand, there's people who don't want to prepare for class, and they want to just spend a lot of time. Their 110% is when they're reviewing their notes for class, and they're like outlining during the semester, and they're compiling their notes in a really formal and like intense way. So you kind of have to figure out where you're going to give your 110, and
Yeah.
that might be different from your friend or your peer, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, Joshua, I hope that answers your question.
Long answer to your short question. I'm
Long
sorry,
answer
man.
to your short question. You'll notice both Abhi and I seem to wake up at 6, like we are early risers.
The morning worm gets the bird, dude.
Something
I don't
like
know what to
that.
tell you. I don't know what to tell
Yeah.
you.
But that doesn't have to be you, but it just like you wherever you're starting, like you have to like plan your time out from that point.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like, yeah,
Some of our classmates like stay up until 4 a.m. because they're night owls. They're night birds for night worms. And there's night
never.
worms, folks. There's night worms. I'm just not a night worm. I'm not a night worm.
Yeah, I'm not a night owl, and I'm
Oh yeah,
certainly not a night
whatever.
worm.
I'm certainly not a night worm, but some people are night worms and night owls and night birds. And
Yeah.
so if you get if your 110 is like from the hours of 12 to 4 a.m., God bless you. And then of course like they show up to school like very sleepy, and they're like not 110% in class, but that's totally like you don't have again you don't have to class doesn't matter if it doesn't matter to you.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's a million ways to skin a cat. You're gonna figure out what version of the worm you are. Yeah, all good.
Yeah. But okay, so that's the answer to that one. And then we had another comment from Legally Miss D. Hello again. And she said, "This will forever be my favorite podcast. Love that we are all in the same semester of law school from all different schools. What school are you at? Send us a comment letting us know what school you're at. We'll give you a shout out. And yeah, we really are all having, well, some of us, most of us are having the same semesters. It sounds like you and I might be. Obviously over there in his pass fail LPS, is that what you call it? LPS class. Nobody knows what that
Sorry
is.
my school likes me. I don't know.
But yeah, we're glad that you're listening and enjoying the podcast. Also, that you're in law school, also a 1L listening to this and enjoying it.
Yeah, that's
That's
sick.
super fun. Yeah.
Also, I totally understand if you don't want to tell us where you go to school because like doxing and
Oh,
stuff.
oh, I'm
So, but if
sorry.
you want to leave us like an elaborate hint of like, oh, like I go to law school where I don't know, George Washington went to law school. No, George Washington didn't go to law school. He was just uh he was a guy with wooden teeth, and that's all. That's all he was. And a great leader. Great leader.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean you obviously don't have to tell us. We're very public about it, but we're public figures, so obviously, but like you don't have to tell us. But yes,
Public
we're all in the
figures.
same semester. We feel you, we're with you, and we're rooting for you, and hopefully your finals go well.
Speaking of public figures, Amina, we
Yes.
have a
Yeah,
third listener comment, and
we do.
it's from your dad, and this is a
It
Thanksgiving story that
was.
you were telling me off camera, but it was good enough that I think it deserves to be in the listener comments. Um, your dad was like overheard, like from the kitchen or something. He overheard the podcast on,
Certainly not from the kitchen, I would like to
or
say that.
wherever he was, right? Like the podcast was on, he was elsewhere in the house, he heard it, and his comment, he ultimately sat down and listened to it and said, this podcast is actually interesting.
Verified.
Whoa, we'll take it, dude.
Verified. So I'll tell you like the short but like actual version of that story was like my mom sat down to like watch something on TV, and I guess my Spotify is connected to our TV, so the podcast popped up because yeah, I listen to the podcast, game day notes. I have to like know where we're
Game day
going.
notes. That's
What's
so.
going on? So I listened to the podcast. So the podcast popped up. She started playing the podcast. And then my dad like filtered in, wasn't really paying attention to what we were watching, and then like was like, "Oh, is this your podcast?" Like, and then he like after dinner like sat down and was like playing it. He was like, "Yeah, this is actually interesting. Like, you guys are actually talking about some like interesting topics. Like, this is really well done." And I was like, "Well,
You heard
thanks.
you heard it here first, folks. This
You heard it here
podcast
first."
actually interesting. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, thank you to everybody who's ever listened to even a minute of this. We love you.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's it for listener comments. You guys leave us some more. We love to read them. We love to interact with you. And off that, we are going to move into current events. Segue.
Awesome. Segue. Now, Aaminah, you were really excited about this article, so I'm gonna kick it to you. But this one's it's about climate change and climate policy and the International Court of Justice. So I'm really excited to hear about it. Um, but this is an article from theguardian.com. The title is After Landmark Climate Win, Lawyer Hopes for a New Legal Order to Protect Indigenous Rights. And this is an article by John Letman. It was published on Friday, the 28th of November. But yeah, what is this about, Amina? Fill us in.
Yeah, so essentially okay. So essentially there was this lawyer, Julian Agwan. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that name, but we're gonna say Agwan. And he received a call from the foreign affairs minister of a country called Vanuatu, which is in Oceania. And essentially, they were trying to basically build a case for climate justice and bring it before the International Court of Justice, also known as the ICJ. And the reason that I thought that this particular article was interesting, not just that well, sorry, I'll get to that. But the reason I thought that this article was particularly interesting is because um, that foreign rights minister brought this case to this lawyer on behalf of like a group of law students who were trying to build this case. So that law student group was called the Pacific Island Students Fighting Climate Change, and they teamed up with Agwan, and Agwan. Basically, Agwan and his team gathered testimonies and stories, even from like cultures where like they have a tradition of not talking about what's going on in the culture and like their environmental practices and stuff like that, talking about like indigenous cultures and things of that nature. And they got people from these indigenous cultures to share their stories in hopes of like, building this case and having the ICJ rule in their favor. And they brought the case to the ICJ this year. And in a landmark ruling, they won the case, and the ICJ determined that nations have a legal obligation to prevent climate harm. So that was super huge. And additionally, Agwan and that group of law students are also going to be honored with a right livelihood award, which is apparently dubbed as an alternative Nobel. You have people like Greta Thunberg who have won that. And so yeah, I think it was a really awesome story about like the power that we have, or sorry, yeah, the power that we have as law students to actually affect real change. Um yeah, that's the story on that. I thought that was really interesting.
That's really sick, dude. I just think it's awesome. This is what some people call like impact litigation, or like climate based or climate impact litigation. Essentially, there's organizations that you can work at as a lawyer or as a legal person, and they do stuff like this. They do cool stuff that changes international policy and international law. So, um, the okay, obligatory, the cynic in us. I mean, we have to just kind of ask the question of, I'll be the bad guy. I'll be the bad guy. How much does it mean for the ICJ to say anything? It's unclear. They don't have any power, but it's a good step. It's a good step.
Yeah. So like a little background on that, like the ICJ, of course, like is the International Court of Justice. So it's not like meaningless that they, make a ruling. And it is legally binding on the countries involved in that ruling. However, the enforcement mechanism of the ICJ is the UN Security Council, which famously is not like the greatest enforcement mechanism of ICJ rulings. And so yeah, like I think it's Unfortunate that like we have this international body that really doesn't have like enforcement power when
Uh,
it matters. But I also think like again like that shouldn't like deter us from trying anyway. I think it's really awesome what these law students did, and like even if it's not like an international like if there's no international arm to enforce this rule, and like maybe some countries will like take on the charge as a result of this ruling, or like take something from this ruling that has a positive impact. Yeah.
yeah, and like to be clear, I think that's not there's a non-zero chance of that, you know,
Hmm.
happening because I think to the extent that if you think about courts, the way that we learn about courts in the United States in as U.S. law students, we talk a lot about jurisdiction, right? So this is something we all learn in Civ Pro, civil procedure, but you learn about jurisdiction as in a nutshell, like does this court have power over you or the
Hmm.
case? The case. Do they have the power to opine on the case in front of them and the parties in front of them, right? The ICJ does have jurisdiction over parties that have agreed to be seen by, to talk in front of the ICJ, right? Like, there's
Yeah.
this idea that you are consenting to being a part of the UN, you're consenting to being a part of the ICJ's jurisdiction. So, sure, they don't have an enforcement mechanism, but I think there's an implicit enforcement mechanism, maybe. Like, you want to continue to be a citizen of the community that you are in internationally. On the other hand, enforcement mechanisms for international sovereigns are really, really hard. Like, who can actually impose anything on a sovereign nation on planet Earth? There's a couple of countries that come to mind that can actually enforce anything onto international sovereigns, and even those countries, I'm thinking of like the big three, right? I'm thinking of like the US, China, and Russia, and even those big three struggle often to get international sovereign bodies to do anything besides whatever the hell they want to do. The idea of sovereignty is that you kind of get to do whatever the hell you want to do within your own borders. But I think cases like this are asking the question of, well, wait a second, but what if the things that are happening within your borders affect people outside of your borders? Like climate change and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah. And Abby, I think you also have some news to share with
Yeah,
us.
like an equally important lawyer who has made an impact on the world. This is an above the law article, and the title is "Lawyer's Permanent Mark on Your Thanksgiving Dinner." This is by Catherine Rubino, published on the day before Thanksgiving, the 26th of November. It's about cranberry sauce. Aaminah, a lawyer came up with the concept of canned cranberry sauce. Do you
Wow.
happen to know who it was?
I have no idea.
It's not like a name that we know. It's not like it was Benjamin.
Okay.
It's like it's not like Benjamin Franklin. No, no, it's
You
not.
did kind of set it up like that, like I would know, but
Well, the
okay. Who
article
is
the
it?
article kind of come on, Catherine Rubino. Like you set it up like so this is something we can guess. Like we surely
Yeah,
cannot
yeah.
guess it. As background, it was part of an effort to extend the selling period of his staple crop, cranberries. So he was a cranberry guy who happened to be a lawyer, or I guess a lawyer who happened to be a cranberry seller. And he was
Hmm.
like, "Well, wow, shoot, I need to sell cranberries in more, like more cranberries, right, in a longer period of time. Well, what can I do? I could can them." And so he kind of invented this idea of cranberry sauce being this iconic Thanksgiving food, and that lawyer's name was Marcus L. Uran, Uran, Uran,
Hmm.
Urann. I don't know how to say that. But you can read. You guys can read more about Marcus L. Uran, or Uran. But he was the
You're
reason that
trying
we.
so hard not to say urine.
I'm trying so hard to not say urine. It's got to be
It
Uran
could be.
or
Could be.
Uran. Anyway, Marcus, brother. Okay, how do you feel about cranberry sauce?
Um, my sister is a huge fan of cranberry sauce and she makes it from scratch. And beyond that, like I was not super into the idea of cranberry sauce for many years. And I think one time, like I just accidentally tried some and I was like, oh wait, this is like kind of all right. So like I feel like pretty neutral about it. But yeah.
I I also kind of feel neutral about it. My mom loves to make it every year. It's also like it's like very easy. It's like a straightforward dish to
Hmm.
make. Like it's just cranberries in a
Yeah.
pot and you put sugar in it. If you want to make it from cranberries, or you could just grab it from the can. My
Thanks,
parents hate
Marcus.
they hate the can, like the jellied kind from the
Yeah.
can. So they liked making it from scratch. And to me, it's just like no, this is, you made real food out of this. Like, I don't want to eat
Mm.
real cranberry sauce made from real cranberries. No, thank you. If I'm gonna have cranberry sauce, it needs to be the weird goop that comes out of the can. And
Yeah.
so this year we compromised and we just didn't. It wasn't included on the spread. So we just,
Oh,
yeah. So I don't know.
okay. All right.
It's a win.
Yeah.
It's a win. So yeah, an equally controversial and landmark case by the lawyer who invented cranberry sauce, and then we had the lawyer that invented climate change. So that's awesome. Uh, and next segment, Amina. The
Yes.
legal word of the week, the wow. What you got for us?
Okay, so you may recall I was deep in torts this weekend. So something that came up in my outline, which also came up in my real life many years ago. Not many years ago. It was literally the beginning of the semester. But the term joint and several liability. Abby, are you familiar with joint and several liability?
I am. I am. Although for us, it wasn't that far ago or that long ago. I feel
Hmm.
like it's something that you kind of get into when you think about um, cause. It's a
Yeah.
question about cause, like who was at fault and why.
Yeah. Yeah, so essentially, so when I first came across the term joint and several liability, it was on my lease. And when you sign a lease, you are joint and severally liable with the person that you're signing the lease with. So if one of you like misses the payments or whatever, like you are both equally liable to make up the entire payment.
Yeah,
And that, well, there it is. That's what joint and several liability is. It's you and another person or other parties, as many parties are involved, sharing liability for
yeah.
something.
The
Yeah.
word several, like several, to me is like the trigger of like, oh, there's multiple defendants here.
Yeah.
So there's multiple people liable. They may be liable to different extents, but
Mhm.
that's kind of a more complicated question for the jury. Uh, but yeah, the idea of several liability is, oh, there's multiple defendants. I will say, I think joint and several means there may be multiple defendants who are all severally liable, but you can sue any of them for all the money, and that's the
Yeah.
joint, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, like, I feel like the it's, like, a bit of a tautology to put joint and several, like, joint liability feels like it
You
would
could
cover
have
it.
just called it joint. Come on,
Yeah.
Marcus, the cranberry guy. This is all the cranberry guy's fault, or whoever.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, whoever the cranberry equivalent of joint and several was. Um, you could have just called it joint liability. That to me, yeah, it's like clearer. It's like, oh, like everybody's kind of equally at fault, and so you could just
Mhm.
sue one of the people, and then they have to, and the defendants have to figure it out. Essentially, joint and several liability means you can sue any of the defendants, and they have to kind of figure it out amongst themselves who's going to pay,
Yeah. Yep.
which is great for plaintiffs. Several liability is not that. Several liability by itself is you. It's up to kind of the plaintiffs and the defense and the jury to kind of figure out, okay, who did what and how much is everybody going to pay, which is annoying for the plaintiff and usually results in them not getting 100% of their money because one of those defendants is insolvent. One of those defendants is insolvent. They always are.
Gotta
They
be.
always fucking are, dude. There's always one defendant who doesn't have a dime to his name, just walking around torting people.
Yeah, that's always the worst tortfeasors are the people who are judgment proof. But yeah, that's our luau for this week. Yeah.
So this week, folks, for Legal Drama Review, we did have a couple of shows prepared, but we're going to table those because we wanted to start mixing in. We had a couple of comments come in. People loved Amina breaking down the real life legal drama. So I think last week there was a couch involved.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it was a contract dispute. I think this week we have a similar real life story is it from Amanda?
Yeah, so our incredible editor Amanda, she gave us she was scrolling on TikTok and saw this video about this woman who was asking if it was trespassing to go onto her neighbor's property to pick up after her dog because she had an intention to go onto the property. So thanks Amanda for this story. Abby, this is another torts thing, trespass to property. Do you want to take a swing at
Yeah.
it? Should I take a swing at it? Like, what say
So
you?
so here's the thing. We learned about property from the perspective of duty, right? Like the duty that landowners have to people that come to their property.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
yeah. So we didn't actually learn about what happens, and so our torts class completely skips intentional torts.
Yeah, you have no intentional torts.
We
Okay.
have zero intentional torts, and so folks at home, like that means torts that happen when you intentionally do something, right? So like when you like literally you're going to trespass, like you're going to walk into somebody's yard, or you're gonna, I don't know, punch somebody in the face, right? Those are intentional acts. We didn't cover that in my torts class because, again, there's enough to unpack in negligence that some torts classes just don't talk about intentional torts. They just talk about unintentional torts, negligence, things that happen on accident. So we focused on that stuff. But you don't skip property. So property is
Mhm.
still a duty. So landowners, it's so funny because I got this question. I was like, oh, what could the landowner be liable for? Right?
Yeah.
So if this person trespassed onto the yard, that doesn't absolve the landowner from liability. Even though this person was trespassing, there's still a baseline duty that the landowner owes to even trespassers. So, like, for instance, if there were, like, I don't know, like spikes, giant spikes with like laser beams on them in their yard, they would be, if, and one of the laser beams like harmed the dog or the person that was trespassing, the landowner would be liable because that's a breach of duty.
These are the kinds of fact patterns you get on Torts hypos, by the way.
That's
But
why
no.
nobody lets me
Um,
write practice exams. Yeah.
okay. So I did actually do intentional torts, and as such, I will analyze whether or not it was trespassing for this woman to welcome to her neighbor's property. So, scrolling back to my like towards outline, I have my little trespass to land card here, and I will read for you the elements of trespassing to land. So, firstly, it has to be a volitional act. So that means that it's an act of your conscious mind, like it's something you did consciously. You have to have an intent to enter the property, which is satisfied so long as it was the defendant's purpose to enter the land, even when there was a mistaken belief or whatever. We're not dealing with mistaken belief in this scenario. This woman intended to enter the property of her neighbor to pick up after the dog. So intent is satisfied there. Causation. So, but for causation is what we typically talk about as actual causation. So, but for her entering the land,
No
no
trespass would have
damage.
occurred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you don't actually need physical damage to property and trespass to land for there to be a trespass. So, yeah, but for her intending to do it, like no trespass would have occurred or entering the yard. And then yeah, the fourth element is physical invasion of the plaintiff's possession of real property. So I mean, as far as these elements are concerned, check, 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 check. She trespassed. Um, yeah, like how that might actually play out in a court is, you know, up for debate. That's for the trier of facts, as we say, up to the jury. But yeah,
Well,
technically she did trespass.
wouldn't you need some sort of harm to even have a lawsuit? Like, you would have had to break something while you were trespassing, right? Or is it just
No,
that you were
for
on the land itself?
yeah, for trespass to land, like you don't actually have to like cause damage to the land, as far as I
Oh, interesting.
remember. I know, isn't that so strange? But you don't actually have to like
Wow.
even like to walk on the grass or whatever, like it doesn't even have to be like the grass was trampled or whatever. Like so long as you intentionally entered the land of another person,
Wow.
um, that's it. Like you trespassed.
That's wild. Again, yeah, I'm thinking about liability of like, oh man, liability of the landowner, or I'm thinking like strict liability of the animal. Like, if you are handling animals, so like for instance, your pet dog, in some jurisdictions, like anything that your dog does, you are strictly liable for because you should have had control of your pet, essentially.
Yeah.
Some jurisdictions don't do that. They do actually go into negligence analysis and go, oh, like, were you acting negligently? Like, did you have your dog unleashed when the dog probably should have been leashed? But for instance, strict liability is just even if you had your dog on a leash and you were walking by your neighbor's yard and the leash broke and the dog ran up the stairs and stole the pie off of the off of the windowsill because it was cooling before Thanksgiving, like cartoon style. Um, you're strictly liable for what your dog did. So again, I'm thinking unintentional torts, but
Yeah.
intentional torts. It sounds like you're out of luck, friend, who picked up after the. Although right in real life, if you were like standing at the edge of your neighbor's yard looking at your dog's, you know, dog poop, and your neighbor
Yeah.
was like, "Are you gonna get that?" And you were like, "I'm sorry, sir or ma'am, I can't trespass onto your yard."
I
You
mean, if
know?
they invited you to do it, like I think it's different, but yeah. That's my like my quick analysis of that based off of what I wrote for my notes.
Yeah,
But of course all of this only matters if they bring the lawsuit, which likely they would not.
yeah. Can I ask a question, Amina?
You can ask a question.
If this was a front yard, is there a
Mhm.
meaningful difference between like the person's walkway up to their door? Like, say you wanted to like knock on their door, you would have to walk on their walkway, go up their stairs, and knock on the door to ask them a question. If it's the front yard, is there a meaningful difference between the walkway and like a foot off of the walkway in the front yard? Is that still
Abhi,
trespass?
I am not sure. I mean, I think based off of what I know, I think it like again, like this is really dependent on like the plaintiff bringing the case, right? So it's like, I think the nuances of that instance would have to determine if there was trespass or not. Like, if you're knocking on the door and they told you to leave and you didn't leave and blah, 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 whatever happened after that, like, then it might be like, oh, this person trespassed. But like, a person is not going to just like bring a suit against you for like knocking on their door, most likely, just
Yeah,
for that instance. So like, trespass wouldn't even come up because it never becomes an issue, you know?
got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Yeah, fair enough.
That
Interesting
is not
stuff.
legal advice, folks.
Folks, Aaminah has officially told you on the record it's legal to do whatever you want. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
But yeah, that's my analysis on that. That's our real life legal drama. Bring us more. We'll do our
Real life
we'll do
legal.
our analysis of what we know
Oh yeah,
and give you the
our very
answers.
rudimentary analysis of like half facts.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think that the real answer is it depends.
Always.
Yeah. Great. Great legal drama review. Folks, don't worry, we haven't forgotten the shows. We have a couple on the docket. I think next week Amina might talk about Scandal unless somebody gives us a great legal drama, a real life legal drama. And then I might a week after that maybe talk about Broadchurch. Interesting. So something to look forward to. We got a couple of legal dramas coming, and then I owe the listeners, or maybe I just owe Amanda, How to Get Away with Murder, which I think is like
Mm,
very close to Scandal in my head, but it's
I'd
not.
say.
Yeah, it's not really Scandal.
Only just so much, and like I think it's all Shonda, right? So
I think it's Shondaland. Yeah, I think
yeah.
it's Shondaland. So hey, we love Shonda Rhimes in this house, but maybe we'll just throw Bridgerton in there too. Who knows?
Oh,
Um, oh
oh,
there's another one on Netflix. Shoot, The Residence. It's like a mystery whodunit, a Shondaland mystery whodunit set in the White House, and there's a detective
oh
that like
wait, I've
solves
seen
it.
that. Yeah,
It's a great. Anyway, okay, sorry. A bunch of stuff on the docket, folks. So this is why
yeah,
we bury legal drama review at the end of the show. We want you to like listen all the way through, or just fast forward to get to this part. This is the best part of the show, obviously. But yeah,
yeah,
I think that's all we have, Amina. Long episode
yeah.
today.
Long episode. If you guys want to like get into these conversations Avi and I are clearly having about like the information in these classes that we've been learning, check out Christian 1L content on our website, lsatdemon.com. It's accessible through the dashboard. Check it out. The
Yeah,
torts
check it
information
out.
is up there. Contracts, you can have contract nightmares too if you're interested in that. It's all there. It's all
Dude,
there.
I would love to know what a contract is. And that's not my professor's fault. My professor's phenomenal. She's been doing this a long time, and she's an excellent teacher. I think there's something about contracts. It's like again, it's like water and oil, dude. It's like
Yeah.
something about my brain and contracts. It just slips right through.
I think that's
Um,
for a lot of people, like something about a contract is just inherently unknowable.
well, I think because it's you spend a lot of time talking about what isn't a contract, and you're like,
Right.
oh no, like now I'm confused. I thought I knew what this was, but now I don't know anything. So
Yeah.
anyway, I might need to click through the contracts crushing 1L section and just refresh myself on what a contract actually is.
Yeah.
But besides that, I think that's it
That's
for this
it.
episode of Crushing 1L. If you guys enjoyed the episode, we'd love if you would subscribe or leave a review or leave a comment. You can just also comment on Spotify and YouTube. That seems to be the easiest way to do it. But you can share this episode with hopefully somebody in your life who's thinking about law school. You could also write into the pod. It's just crushing1l.com, crushing the number one, the letter L.com, crushing1l.com. And until next time, folks, that's all we got. That's Aaminah. I'm Abhi, and I hope you keep crushing it.